Welcome to Deep in the Plus. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys so much for being with us. And tonight we have a very unique situation where we usually do Disney Entertainment News Today on Tuesday nights. We're going through and planning everything. I'm like, we're going to talk about the same thing on Deep in the Plus. So we decided to merge those two conversations together. And then tonight, instead of reviewing a movie or a TV show like we normally do for Deep in the Plus, tonight we're going to talk about every announcement that they made for TV and movies out of D23. So please, if you haven't already, please subscribe to WDWNT TV and like this video as it helps people to find us. And let me introduce our panel tonight. First of all, Alicia, how are you?
Great. How are you guys?
Cool. Ron?
Aloha.
And we have a special guest with us tonight, Christine Nelson. She is an actress out of LA. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
So Christine has been in Ithaca. She played Meg Ryan's daughter. And then she's also been in a movie called Comedy of Horrors, Volume 1. So we're going to get her kind of like inside Hollywood take on this. So I'm very excited. Thank you for being here with us. You know, tonight we're going to go through panel by panel. We had a lot of cool stuff that we got to see in D23. I was at the Expo, wasn't at every panel. Man, it has become Comic-Con to the nth degree. And Ron, I think you would agree. You were there at the last one, and it was pretty crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could have done this one, but last time we took a 6-month-old, which was kind of easy because she just slept strapped to mine or my wife's chest. But bringing a 3-year-old was not going to happen on this one, so we had to skip a year.
I mean, it's one of those things where you go and you look at it, the people who bring little kids, and you're like, I guess you needed to round out your cosplay and have an R2-D2 or an Ewok or something, and that's why you brought your kid? I don't know, because there's not a lot there for them to enjoy, even though it is a Disney convention. So for those of you that don't know, biannually, is that correct? Every other year, Disney does...
Skip this time, yeah.
Yeah, Disney does an expo out in Anaheim, California at the convention center there, and they showcase everything that the company has to offer, Marvel, Star Wars, Lucasfilms in general, parks and resorts. Everything is on display there in a 3-day convention. And every year, I've been going since the beginning in 2009, so every year it gets a little bit crazier. And this year, the panel for Lucasfilm and Marvel, and it was Lucasfilm, Marvel, and Fox. We got there at 5:30 in the morning, and they had already filled the thing up for the day because it was already filled by like 4 a.m. It's ridiculous having to pay that kind of money to get into a panel. So Alicia asked me beforehand, like, did you have a good time? Yes and no. Like, when you get into a panel like that, it's amazing. Hall D23, some of the stuff they bring in there is fantastic. But when you don't get into a panel, it's like... just crushing, especially when you get to see what came out of it. So let's start with the Disney Pixar panel. They started out with some of the stuff that's going to be coming straight to Disney Plus. One of those comes out September 30th, and it is Hocus Pocus 2. I was a huge fan of the first one. I love it. And Ron, you're actually up in that area. Basically, you go witch hunting every weekend, I think. I don't remember what you said about that, but... What are your thoughts on Hocus Pocus 2? Did you see anything new from this trailer that they just released that made you change your mind?
I'm kind of excited for it. I'm fairly disappointed that they did not film any of this one in Salem. They filmed most of this one around Providence and other cities in Rhode Island. But there's some places in the trailer that I'm like, I know where that's supposed to be. And so I think they did a good job of trying to get that. Like where there's a shot of them at that Walgreens, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be the one on Derby Street, right in the middle of downtown. But the movie is a big deal here. They're doing a D23 event for the premiere at the end of the month, including renting out the hall in the building where the party from the first movie was supposed to be, the Masquerade Ball. Unfortunately, I'm going to be missing that. I'll be in Disneyland that day, so I'm not going to go see that. But I think I'm going to go see the movie. They're actually showing it on Salem Common, where part of the first movie was filmed, to residents the next night. So I think that's when I'm going to get a chance to go see it.
Nice. And Alicia, do you have any strong thoughts about the first Hocus Pocus and anything, again, that they released in this new trailer that makes you want to see it more?
Well, so we were kind of talking before we started filming, and I mentioned that I've never seen Hocus Pocus. And who loves all things spooky, scary, witchy, Salem inspired, have not seen this movie. So I didn't look too much into the second one. I have been told that I should watch the first one. And I've seen the Sanderson sister show. I think he's not so scary. I guess I'll finally break down in the first one and then determine if I need to watch the second.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got that confused because I know one of you had said that you had not seen it. I think, Christine, you highly suggest seeing the first one, right?
Absolutely. It's so good.
Have you seen the trailer for the second one? Thoughts?
I have. I was kind of skeptical about the second one just because sometimes sequels for me are kind of disappointing, especially when the first one is so beloved. And it also doesn't make sense to me because they're not supposed to, I guess, I don't know, they're not supposed to age really, I guess. So I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work. But I watched the trailer and the three of them still have the same energy from the first one. So I'm interested enough to give it a watch.
Well, the Sarah line about amok, 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 they say that in the movie. Christine, this is specifically for you, was it cringy when you heard her say it again? Or is it like, yeah, that's her line?
It was kind of a little bit of both, to be honest. It was a little cringy, but it was also kind of like nostalgia at the same time. A weird mix.
Yeah. Tran in the chat says Botox, Botox. Probably, yeah. If you've looked at Bette Midler, she's definitely doing something unnatural, and I don't think it's witchcraft to make herself younger. Ron, you look like you want to say something.
Well, actually, two things is like I think Sarah Jessica Parker looked the youngest in that trailer she has in years. Honestly, from like the shots I saw, she looked a lot better than she did in any of the few shots I saw of the new Sex and the City called or whatever. But the whole, going back to the fan service of Amok, 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 this is possibly the most fan servicey movie ever. I mean, like, it is totally, and they've acknowledged that this was done by fan demand more than anything else. Like, and they've been testing it in the parks with the Halloween party. This year they have stuff on the cruise line where Mickey, Daisy, and Clarabelle are dressed as the Sanderson sisters. So, like, they've been testing these little things to see if the demand was really there, and the merchandise is sold huge. So the whole thing is about as fan service as we can get, and I'm expecting that to be in the movie as much as possible.
Fan service, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a lot of people who are a huge fan of it. So the question is, and Alicia, maybe you can answer this after whatever you're going to say, but the question is, should they always make a remake if people want it?
Well, it's really funny. I was going to bring this back to Chip and Q Rangers because this is giving me vibes from a conversation that we had about that where we questioned multiple times, do we need this right now? And I feel like if we're just, going for fan service, we don't need it. Like, I know that's like sad to say maybe because some people are like, these are my favorite characters, but like, I don't want Disney to bend and break to our will. Like, give me new content sometime.
Nah, let's just rehash the old stuff. Honestly, bring more Tron. There are some movies that I honestly love that I would prefer there not be a sequel, and one of them is Nightmare Before Christmas. So I totally get that. Like, I think it's in this time capsule, and let's leave it there and just celebrate what it was. But, if there was a new one coming out, I'd watch it. But I think there's stuff that comes out later and you're like, I'm not really sure that was a good idea. So we'll find out on September 30th if this one was a good idea. Let's move on to, speaking of fan service, Ron, Disenchanted. Again, this is a movie that I feel like was a sleeper. I don't think this was a huge box office hit, the original, but it has become a cult classic. It has a great cast with James Marsters and McDreamy and Amy Adams and Idina Menzel. So it'll be interesting to see how this one does. But here's what I don't like about sequels that happens in this one is that they have a happily ever after, and the sequel has to break that and then start over again. And I mean, Christine, I assume you saw the original Enchanted, right?
Yes. I like the original a lot. This was definitely one where I really didn't feel like we needed it.
And nobody asked your opinion on it, right? And they just said, "Hey, we're going to make this," right?
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it'll still be cute. I don't know, but
well, I mean, and again, they brought this up on stage. They said, "Hey, you know, they had the entire cast there. Amy Adams was there. Patrick Dempsey had just won, as so did Dina Menzel, or received the Disney Legends Award. So both of them were already there. They recast the kid, which has to be really exciting for the new girl who's in there, the new Morgan. But the old one's got to be like, wait, come on, like this was my role. Why didn't you bring me back? But the rest of the cast seems to be back except for Susan Sarandon, and that role has been kind of replaced by Maya Rudolph. So I'm going to be excited to see this, but I'm nervous about this one, Ron. Do you have an opinion one way or the other on the sequel?
Yeah, this isn't how from what the trailer, it's not how I thought it was going to go. I thought this was actually somehow going to end up a little more animated, honestly. I thought they were going to play it in reverse. I'm kind of happy they're kind of keeping it with the live actors a little bit more. But I like, from what I've seen, some of the tropes they're playing off. They really acknowledge that they're going to play off the evil stepmother trope all of a sudden. I think that's a good kind of follow-up for Enchanted. You know, that's really...
But isn't that so breaking of the character from the first film? I think that's my issue with it. Because Amy Adams wasn't like that in the first film.
But I mean, I think it's clear she's being controlled somehow. So, whatever the wand is obviously being controlled by Maya Rudolph's character. I mean, from what I can tell from the trailer. And it is another cult classic. I mean, I think I'm looking at the box office mojo. It made a domestic total of 127 and change on an $85 million budget. So technically that's a domestic loss, because you got to usually have to double your budget to break even. And it did that a little bit. It did more than that worldwide. And actually it did a lot better, almost double the worldwide. So maybe it's going to play better in other countries, but...
I'm kind of like you on this one, Ron. I kind of thought Andalasia, like they would go into Andalasia and we would see more of that animation in it. So rather than this being something where she ruins the beautiful life that they've put together, and that kind of seems to be the case here. But again, they've made a perfect life and then they break it. I would have loved it better if they were going to Andalasia to help the other couple, the James Marsters, Idina Menzel couple, like do something, like, you know, their life is fine. They go into the animated world to see it. I still think that Giselle would make a great Disney princess. I think they should do a Disney straight up, maybe a prequel, maybe something like that, that's all animated.
My understanding is Amy Adams has some sort of control over the character in her use. I remember hearing that is why we've never seen her in the parks or any kind of representation. I can't confirm that. That's just one of those rumors I heard over the years of like why she's never shown up at anything.
It makes sense. Okay. So that one, again, that's coming Thanksgiving to Disney Plus only, which again, why do they make these decisions that, like, you know, Geppetto just dropped. We talked about it pre-show. We were like, has anybody here seen it? Because it kind of got tore up, and Tom Hanks stars in that one. That's got a pretty good cast. It looks like they put a little bit of money into it, but like I'm still confused about when they decide things go straight to Disney Plus and when they decide to go straight to the theater. Any thoughts on that, Alicia?
Well, so I could make the excuse when we were, you know, mid-COVID. People obviously aren't going to the movie theaters. They were shut down even for a while. Now that we're coming out of it and people are getting vaccinated and boosted even, you would expect to see content coming back to the movie theaters. I don't know why it's not, because like these bigger blockbuster movies are coming. So it's really interesting to watch Disney make this decision, and I really love to know why. just tell us why. Please, thanks.
Other than the Marvel, they seem to be pulling the plug on the wrong ones. Like, Encanto went to theaters, but it didn't catch on till it hit Disney Plus.
Right.
But like, Turning Red was the Disney Plus release, but Lightyear kind of bombed at the theaters. Like, I think, is it just what they expect toy sales to be? And that's what's going to theaters? Is that the tie-in? And once again, it's the other way. Like, you can't find Turning Red toys anywhere, but the Buzz Lightyear stuff is already in the like clearance aisle at Target.
Isn't that funny? We kind of fought the idea of like, come on, Pixar, why can't you get one thing into the theater? They put Lightyear in the theater and it doesn't do well. Yeah, but Turning Red was a good movie, and I mean, I liked it, and you know, you see some stuff in there. So, Desi is in chat saying Turning Red was better than Lightyear. I said what I said. That's because she's hashtag not my buzz, and she's also a huge Four Town fan. So I feel like she's skewed completely on her thoughts there. But you know, again, this one's coming out Thanksgiving on Disney Plus, and then the next movie they talked about, I'm a little shocked, was also coming out on Disney Plus, which was another live action offering, which is Peter Pan and Wendy. So we don't have, I believe, a trailer for this one. They showed a little bit of footage in the panel. Alicia, you're shaking your head hard. No love for Peter Pan and Wendy?
Love for Peter Pan, like I've seen the movie. Love to the ride, I guess, in Disney, but no love for Peter Pan and Wendy. I'm to begin with, and so I don't know if we need action. We don't need more live action, so we can talk about this when we get to like Mufasa and Snow White. But I'm gonna same thing tonight. We don't need more live actions, and I will die on that hill.
Well,
especially one like this that has been done to death in other forms. There's 90 other Pan movies. There's better Pan prequels. I remember there was a Sci-Fi Channel miniseries that was a prequel that was actually pretty well done, where they like Hook was actually like is it not Artful Dodger in who's the leader of the, was it Artful Dodger was the adult leader of the in Oliver Twist, like it was basically a whole Oliver Twist orphans thing that were all little thieves working for Hook. When they get sucked into Neverland, the kids become the Lost Boys, Hook becomes the pirate. And there's a great live action sequel. I think like Hook is an amazing film. It really is.
They did it in Once Upon a Time too. Like they did live action Once Upon a Time. So Disney already did this.
There's so many versions of this out there. It's the most unnecessary one. But it's also public domain, at least in this country, it's public domain. So might as well mine it and keep their name of it in the forefront. Like other people keep putting out these Pan movies.
and Desi in chat starting the chant of Rufio. That was a good movie, the Hook movie. But Christine, I know that you've had a dream of being cast at some point in some live action Alice. Right? At some point?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about live actions?
I think if there's an interesting, if there's something like an interesting twist or something different about it, it can work. But if you're just doing kind of the same story that everyone already knows and loves, like you're just revamping it, and there's nothing that sort of sets it apart from what already exists, then it kind of seems like, then why are we making it?
Yeah, and it's called The Lion King. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that movie was basically frame for frame remake of the original. No surprises, no twists. At least with, and I think beforehand, Ron, we were talking about Beauty and the Beast, that you said like that's the only one you've seen that added something. I mean, they talked about Belle's mom. They added some levels of things into that one. So at least we learned a little bit more from the live action. I feel like the same thing happened with Aladdin. Those are two that I like. Or Cruella, where it takes a complete left turn and it becomes not the same movie. So, to that point, another movie that they announced was Mufasa. This one caught me by surprise because I did not know they were working on this one. And I don't think there's any footage of it. And Ron came prepared to fight me on Mufasa.
This is the most unnecessary thing. If you're gonna do another Lion King, to remake Lion King 1.5, just go full Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, because that's the best thing that they've done other than the original cartoon. So play off that. Like, I know there's a lot of lore to Scar's origins, because I know like he's going by a different name, which I believe in some of the like books that came out, whatever his original name was like the Swahili for trash pile or something like that. So it's interesting that they're like gonna just play off that. Like when also I hate movies where we know who's gonna live and who's gonna die and what's gonna be the end of it. So what's the point?
Okay, but again, at least it looks a little bit different. But it does, based on the footage we saw, it does look a little Lion King 1.5. I'm going to be honest about that, because it starts modern day with Timon and Pumbaa telling a little cub about the original, like the first king, and so it's a little bit Lion King 1.5. I don't know, Christine. Are you? I mean, you grew up with some of these movies. Are you excited about this?
That sounds interesting to me. I kind of like the idea. It sounds a little different. I feel like yes, it is tough when you already know like who's gonna live and who's gonna die, but I feel like Lion King is based off of Hamlet, so you could probably already guess who was gonna live and who was gonna die, sort of already.
My favorite thing about like comparison about that was Hot Tub Time Machine. In Hot Tub Time Machine, then when they start in the future and Crispin Glover doesn't have his hand, and then the rest of the like in Back in Time, they're like, this is where he loses it. This is where it happens. So when you know that somebody's gonna die and like what their journey is to get there, I agree with you, Ron. I don't like that. I don't like movies like Titanic where I'm waiting 45 minutes for it to sink because I know it's gonna sink. Or if you watch La Bamba, and with Richie Valens' story, and there's this cheesy line where Lou Diamond Phillips says, "I'm going to be a star, and stars don't fall out of the sky." Well, he died in a plane crash. Like that? No, he never said that. That can't be possible. So stuff like that. There's way too much foreshadowing. Is a little weird, but anyway.
And also, the animation in this was not good. Like the hyper realism, like it was. Like there's no emotion coming out of these characters. It just robbed it of what made the original so great. Because it wasn't an original story. It was but it was the acting and I'm talking not just the voice acting, but the animation acting is what made that movie what it was.
Yeah, Dennis said in chat, so you hate Star Wars prequels? I mean, it's the same thing, right? Because, first of here, I have problem. I don't hate any Star Wars that I've ever seen, except the holiday special. Anyway, but the thing with the prequels is like they did things that were unnecessary. Like there's no reason, and I've said this before on shows. There's no reason Anakin had to be the one to build C-3PO. That's a two connected thing in a huge universe. Didn't need to happen. I mean, we could have been introduced to him some other time. So, but I do think that's kind of like how all that goes together. But
and
also,
I did say,
go ahead first, Alicia, and then Ron.
Okay, quick personal anecdote. So, when this news came out, I was at a and so everyone automatically comes up to me because they're the Disney girl, and these are a bunch of casual Disney fans, and they're like, do we need like, is this a thing that we need? I'm like, if a casual fan is asking me that, not only are we the ones that's like over this, but the casual people are too. No one wants this.
Okay. All right. What were you gonna say, Ron?
What they were asking about like Obi-Wan and like the prequels. It's just, I think the prequels at least added a how Vader fell. That we never really had that. I think that was a little bit to add to the story. The Obi-Wan, why I really love the series, other than maybe Leia's development, I don't think it added anything to the lore. Because where we saw it, Obi-Wan at the end of the movies is where we see him get back to by the end of the series. So I don't think it really did add anything to Obi-Wan's story, but it did add something to Leia's.
I agree. So let's talk about another live action, which I'm going to be honest right now, I'm kind of looking forward to, The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid is coming to theaters with additional songs from the original composer Alan Menken, and I'm just going to say God, Lin-Manuel Miranda. I mean, he is fantastic. The stuff that he puts together, I don't know. I don't know how he does it. Like every bit of it. Like when we're watching the Encanto panel and like the layering of the music and the thoughts about one thing coming back to the next. I mean, Hamilton obviously amazing. I love that he's part of the Disney family with Encanto, with Moana, with now The Little Mermaid, and of course, they bought the rights to the Hamilton recording to play on Disney Plus. So I'm excited about this movie, but they played an entire scene. So the trailer was released after the panel, but they played an entire scene, the entire part of your world scene in the room. It was so fantastic, and it sold me 150% on Halle Bailey as being Ariel. It was so, so well done. Christine, you saw that trailer, and you have thoughts?
First of all, her voice is just
Yes.
incredible. I feel like when you think of Ariel, obviously the whole thing is that she has this stunningly beautiful voice, and I feel like they found someone who has like, yes, it sounds very musical theater, but it has like a really pure magical sound about it. I don't know. I got chills when I watched it. I think she's gonna be incredible.
Okay. Alicia, I know I'm with you. Same thing. Alicia, you were looking down. I don't know why. Are you sad? Are you not down with this one?
No, I'm trying my internet. Sorry, people. No, I am so here for Little Mermaid as much as I'm like saying we don't need live action remakes. We can pause that, I guess, for this. Also because I love Little Mermaid. But no, Halle Bailey is like God, Lin-Manuel is God, and they can do whatever they want together. That's fine.
Did you guys see the TikTok with the little girl's reaction?
Yes, it was so sweet.
Yeah, it was really cute. Ron, you have thoughts?
I definitely do. I mean, I've been excited for this since they announced her. In case none of the audience, so my daughter is black, so and Ariel is one of her favorite things in the world. So having this coming out for her is a real big deal for me. What she calls her Ariel doll is a little crocheted and black mermaid that my mom got her as a gift. Not like we have a couple like actual Ariel dolls, but that's the one she wants to take to bed. So having this, yeah, I'm super excited for this for her for more than anything else.
That's awesome, dude. Hey, Alicia, are you modding the chat? Can you block Desi? Because she just said, I don't care.
I saw. She's a little pitchy.
She said she was a little pitchy. Shut up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was so well done. I love you, Desi, but come on. I mean, it was so well done. Like the little bit of runs at the end of the part of your world that she did, just a little, just like enough to make it her own, but still so true to it. And she came out on stage afterwards. Crowd went nuts. Her speaking voice is wow. Like she's in that lane, and so it was really. I thought it was really well done. So.
And Rob, my biggest concern is Rob Marshall more than anything because I think
because Mary Poppins Returns.
He does some great stuff, but I think Mary Poppins Returns and Into the Woods were not the best. I think they were both okay to pretty good. I don't think they were amazing. So that's my concern. But on the other hand, he really tries to get acting out of his singers in his movies, and I think that's what we're hearing. I didn't hear the whole thing. I wasn't at the panel. But even what we hear in that trailer, you could hear the longing in that voice as she's singing.
So, Christine, you're nodding your head. Does Rob Marshall have, do you like Rob Marshall movies? Do you have an opinion about Rob Marshall in general?
I would say that I agreed with all of that. I love Into the Woods because I'm like a musical theater kid, so I was very excited for that to come out, but it was good, but it could have been great, you know?
And there were directing choices like not having the narrator that really kind of killed the film adaptation. Like there is a stage one, I think it's got Bernadette Peters in there, right? The famous film stage one, like blows a multi-million-dollar budget movie out of the way. And I think there were some choices he's made adapting things that is more of the problem. So that's what I'm more worried about with this than anything else.
Well, and here's one last look at Hallie as Ariel, and just again the effects that they did under the water, just everything about it. She's just, I mean, she's almost got like the cartoon Disney princess eyes. It's haunting. It's really, that whole scene, like Rob Marshall said, we wanted to do something special for her. And he's great on stage, by the way. Not every director is, but he came out and he was great on stage, and he said, wanted to bring something special for this audience, so we're going to play the entire segment of Part of Your World. Now, normally I don't like a spoiler. The year that Princess and the Frog came out, they showed us like full clips randomly, but because this is a song segment, it was perfectly amazing to see. So I'm excited for this one when it comes out. I think that the article on our website mentioned Disney Plus, but this is a theatrical release. So this is going to be exciting. This is big budget. This is a big deal. One more live action that we alluded to earlier, Snow White. I'm not sure I was expecting this announcement, but Gal Gadot as like the evil queen. Or I think they said Godot. I think that I've heard 18 pronunciations of her last name. It's not Godot because she's not French and it's not a silent T on the end, but she, I think, killed it in the footage that they showed. It was just very little. I mean, it was very little to show it. And then Rachel Ziegler, I believe, is Snow White. Again, I'm going to go to the actress casting. Do you agree with this casting?
I know a lot of people were upset, but I saw her in West Side Story, and again, she knocked it out of the park. She's an incredible vocalist and an incredible actress, and I expect nothing less than great things from Snow White.
She was definitely fangirling. She was there in the. She came out on stage about the idea of being like, I don't know, on stage at Disney. So at D23 Expo, it's a room. Again, Hall D23 is a room of about 7,500 people, and it's all flat. So that's just, there's not risers or anything, and there's screens in front. So most of the time, even though you're in the same room with some of these people, they're so far away, but you see them on the big screen. And she came out and she was just giddy. And then Gal actually wore heels, and she's already super tall, which was kind of crazy. But she looked like a giant over her, which, again, very menacing sort of a situation. But she said she was really excited to play the villain because she always plays the hero. So that's kind of neat that she gets to play around with that. So we'll see more from that. But let's recap this real quick. Go ahead.
Well,
Brian.
I wanted to comment. One thing I kind of my casting problem with this is Gal Gadot, just because, and I think I've seen this in a few of the other Snow White remakes with who they choose to play the evil queen. They keep casting women who are way too gorgeous to be the evil queen because she's supposed to be way past her prime and all. She should not in any way ever be fairer than Snow White. And I think what we have Charlize Theron, we had there was another, was Julia Roberts one at one point?
Mirror Mirror.
And Gal Gadot is all right, you're casting too pretty for the woman who's not supposed to be the prettiest anymore.
I don't know how you cast that. You go, we need somebody who's pretty but past her prime.
Well, no, go a little. I mean, someone
Ooh, be careful.
Glenn Close or something like that, who has gotten older but was,
You're talking about Nova Prime, dude? You talking about Nova
Meryl
Prime?
Streep. Meryl Streep would be amazing.
Yeah. That's what it's.
I can see Meryl Streep.
Okay. But what I wanted to do is recap the fact that most of these movies are all either sequels or live action. Disenchanted sequel, Hocus Pocus sequel, Peter and Wendy live action remake, Mufasa sort of live action remake, I mean, it was sort of original story, but also a sequel or a prequel, and then Snow White and the Little Mermaid. It's kind of crazy that like there's not a lot of original
Wait,
stuff here.
isn't there one we're missing? Like
There
a
is one we're
really
missing.
big
I just
one?
wanted to recap all of that before we went
Okay.
into the other one, because Ron came ready to fight about this one, I believe. This is his baby, The Haunted Mansion. So the Haunted Mansion movie, obviously there was the Eddie Murphy movie, which I don't hate. I don't hate that movie. We did a Deep in the Plus on that one. It was neat. It was almost.
We literally did it.
We did. So with that one though,
We literally did it.
we did. It was you and me. Oh my gosh, Alicia, how are you? It was one of those things where we went into it, and you look at it, it's very similar to the ride, where you've got the funny part and you've got the scary part, and so they showed footage of this. They didn't release a trailer for this one, but they showed footage in the room, and it was Owen Wilson, Tiffany Haddish, Rosario Dawson, and Danny DeVito a little bit, Dan Levy a little bit, and then and they did not show Jamie Lee Curtis in the trailer that they showed, or the footage they showed, and then they rolled her out in a doom buggy on the stage, turned it around, she waved at everybody, the director got in and left. She never said a word. She never got out. My wife was like, is she okay? Like, why is she not there? Like, why did she not stand up? Why did she not say anything? It was really neat the way the director revealed it, because he said, you know, they told me they wanted it to be scary, so we had to get the Queen of Horror, and then the Doom Buggy comes out backwards, and then it turns around, and she's right there. So it was really cool to be in the room with her, but she didn't, you know, say anything. So she's going to be Madame Leota. They kind of joked about the fact that the internet knew about Jared Leto as the Hatbox Ghost, and he kind of admitted that that was true. They show flashes of the Hatbox Ghost, while, you know, but it was very quick. I don't know, Ron. I'm ready. Take the stage, buddy. Tell me what you're feeling.
Honestly, I wish I had seen the trailer. I can't really comment that much. I still think a movie is a bad way to go for the Haunted Mansion, because it is not any singular story. I think an anthology series is where this always should have gone. I'm really like, all right, Leto can be amazing. He can be way too over the top, so I can't really judge anything on that I've seen. He could go either way. I'm very happy with Jamie Lee Curtis. Excuse me, but when I heard they wheeled her out, I thought they would have wheeled her out in the ball, you know, like do it that way. But I wonder if, like, really, like, remember, don't forget she is British aristocracy, so maybe they're like, we need to get her back on a plane right now to London. So with everything with what's going on there, but
Right.
so I'm not horrible. I don't think this is gonna be the most horrible thing, honestly, but I need to see anything before I could comment. I really hope they do a good, coherent story. The Eddie Murphy movie was an Eddie Murphy movie, and that was kind of the problem with it. I think you can get a good story out of it, but I think an anthology series with more of like focusing on the different ghosts is the way to go.
Gotcha. Well, just for reference, here she is rolled out in the Doom Buggy. So not quite an off-the-shelf Doom Buggy. It looks like it's sort of one they made for the purposes of the presentation. It rolled out, turned around. The director got in and rolled off with her, so that was kind of neat. You know, here's the challenge: is that when you're setting the bar for what an attraction-based movie should be, you have to look at Pirates of the Caribbean, at least the first one. And so that's
Absolutely.
that's when you're like, you know what, it deserves more. And I think, Alicia, you and I talked a little bit about that.
Well, first off, Jamie Lee Curtis, I got goosebumps. Again, I was at a rehearsal dinner, and I looked at my phone, and then I like ran to my partner, and I was like, look, and he was like, we're really busy right now. I'm like, but look, because this is like really important right now. I love the Haunted Mansion so dearly. I have tattoos for it. I have all of the art ever. Ron and I bond over this all the time. But I, like you, Ron, I think that this would be great as an anthology. I think they might be doing as like an original story, which maybe that's the way it needs to go, just to get away from the parks fans being like this that I know and love. I don't know.
And
Well,
they've changed the story of the bride versus Gracie versus the ghost host so many times as they've been developing the ride over the last few years and changing it since like the 2007 refurb. It's, yeah, maybe something more original is the way to go. And I don't mind a dark comedy, but the Eddie Murphy movie wasn't a dark comedy. It was borderline the Clumps at times.
let's just say it. The best adaptation was the Muppets Haunted Mansion. There you
Oh
go.
my gosh,
It is
yes.
so good. So, Christine, I want to ask you this because we've been accused of being, I don't know, jaded when it comes to the parks and when it comes to, some other things. So let me ask your opinion of it. Did you see the first movie? And, like, what are you expecting out of this one?
I did see the first one. I actually just rewatched it last weekend. While I was recovering from my booster symptoms, so I was a little feverish while I was watching it. But I remember not really loving it that much when it came out, but I actually enjoyed it this time around. I thought it was kind of fun. I will say I like just being on the ride more than I like watching the movie, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, that's fair. Jared Leto, pro, con, him being in the movie?
I think it could go either way. You know?
True. True. So that was pretty much the Disney live action segment of this. And again, like I said, there's not a lot of original here. It's just a lot of remakes and live action translations and sequels. So I was excited. Don't get me wrong. In the moment, I was like, yes, we're gonna go see that. We're gonna go see that. So we'll see how they work out. The one that had me kind of was Peter and Wendy, and I think maybe it's because like. I don't know how I feel about that story needing to be retold again and again because it's not that different layer, that Maleficent, that Cruella, that other layer that we're looking for. It's it's just that same movie again. They talked about they then brought out Pete Docter, who is the chief of Pixar now, and he talked about a couple different movies. One is Elemental. I don't know how much has been released about Elemental. I don't know how I feel about Elemental. It's supposed to be like this, like sort of, I guess, West Side Story, forbidden love between the fire woman made of fire and the man made of water. It's a tale as old as time. Alicia, I see you're nodding your head a little bit. What do you have thoughts on this one already?
Yeah, I do. Just I think from what it's giving like Inside Out Soul vibes. And I don't know how many more of those I can take. As much as I love Inside Out and Soul, which are fantastic movies, but like how many more things need emotions? Like fire needs emotions, water needs emotions. What's next? Like our emotions, our souls have emotions. I'm kind of done with inanimate objects having emotions as the major part of their story. But
Wow.
that said, character art, phenomenal. Like anything, like all of the art from this Pixar panel is stunning. I am like here for the art.
Yeah, I honestly I don't know again how to feel about this one. The animation is interesting. They did a very unnecessary thing in the room. They brought out the actor who's playing the water and the actress who's playing fire, and they had fire lit in front of her and rain coming down in front of him, and they tried to get each side of the arena to be more loud than the other to see who was going to get the Elemental poster when they leave. But we were all winners. We all got the poster. I don't need that. That's fine. We're good. We're all good. But I don't know, Christine, Pixar movies in general, like, I mean, first of all, again, as somebody from the outside, I assume you can tell the difference between what's a Pixar movie and what's a Disney movie, because I run into people all the time that can't even tell the difference between a DreamWorks movie and a Disney movie. So they're like, Shrek, that's Disney, right? Those are people who are questionable. Do you think that Pixar is turning a corner here and going in the right direction, or do you think that it's going to be a hit?
Um, I do. I think it actually will probably be good. I know that it is playing on the. I would agree, it is playing on the same thing of things having emotions, but I am intrigued by like the idea of using elements. And I did really love Inside Out a lot. I think I saw that like 5 times in the movie theater, so I'm I'm here for it.
Okay, Ron.
It's it's another Pixar that just yeah, it seems so Pixar to me. I mean, they always do something good with them, so I'm excited to see it, but I don't know I don't know what other things they're going to try and anthropomorphize.
Yeah, there was some line in a Family Guy recently was talking about how Pixar's not a home run anymore. So I mean, it's gotten into like the culture enough that it's like people are like, because for a while Pixar could not miss. Everything that they released was great. Everything was just a huge hit. And then they had some stuff that failed. Cars 2 wasn't a huge hit. The Good Dinosaur wasn't a huge hit. I think those are the ones we kind of put near the bottom when we ranked them. We ranked them during COVID. I think Ron, I think, was on that panel. Alicia, you may have been on it too. But we ranked all the Pixar movies, and those came near the bottom. Like, then Soul was a nice movie. Onward, I don't know about. And then, whoa, are we gonna fight? Do you have thoughts on
I
Onward?
love Onward.
Onward,
I
I
love
didn't love the
Onward.
ending. I feel
I
like
watch it. I watch it all the time, and I cry every single time.
but that's usually what Pixar movies make you do, right? Is cry. I mean, Bing Bong, come on. I love that line in She-Hulk where when they're trying to bring out her emotions, and they talk about Bing Bong. I mean, it's yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this movie does. They also talked about a show, Win or Lose, which they talked about this last D23 3 years ago. Like, that's how long this has been in development, as Win or Lose, and it's going to be a Disney Plus show, and it's basically a bunch of kids, the Pickles, who are playing baseball, and then they go back in and Bianca loves Disney. Justice for Good Dinosaur. I don't hate the Good Dinosaur. I'm just saying a lot of people do. So when you go into to this show, you're going to see from different points of view the same day basically relived, which is a very unique and fun concept. And the way that the writers said they came up with this was that they would have somebody come in the room, say something, the two of them shared an office, the person would leave, and they would both have different, like completely different takes on what just happened. And so the idea that you have so many people and the different takes that they'll have on that is interesting. The animation is interesting. It's going to be a show. It's going to be on Disney Plus, limited run. But I think that the big reveal for this one came for the Pixar panel came when the last 2 movies that they talked about. So Elio was one, which looks to me this could be the return for Pixar. I'm excited about this one. So it's a little boy who gets basically whisked off into space to be the representative for Earth. Maybe Peter Quill, like maybe that kind of a thing. I don't know. But so it's like his interpretation of it, this big fish out of water situation. And America Ferrera is the mom in this one, and then the little boy who's been introduced is new to acting. But it looks like it's going to be great from just they didn't really have any like full animation. They just had stills of what it was going to be like, and that looked pretty neat. But after he talked about Elio, then the little voice was going, Pete, Pete, and it's like, is everybody hearing that? And here comes Amy Poehler out on stage. As soon as she walked out, I leaned over to my wife and I said, Pixar 2, Inside Out 2, that's what we're talking about. I mean, why else would you bring Joy, the voice of Joy, out on stage if they weren't going to do Inside Out 2? So, Christine, you said you liked Inside Out 2 a lot. Inside Out 1. Are you excited for Inside Out 2?
I don't know. Again, sequels for me, I'm worried it's gonna ruin it. Like, it's Inside Out was so perfect for me that I'm scared. Like, maybe it'll be okay, but it makes me nervous. It's one of those things where I feel like it's just so perfect the way it is. Like, let's maybe leave it alone.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. And Alicia, you're nodding your head. Do you feel the same way? Well, you said you didn't
Yeah,
really
there's no
particularly care for it.
It's fine. I'm a little bit more upset. I know people were saying, at least I don't think it's been confirmed, but Minnie Kaling and Bill Hader aren't going to be back. And I thought that both of those were really important characters. I don't know if they'll be recast. I don't know if they're just going to kind of act like they're not important anymore. I don't see how like envy, jealousy isn't going to be important in a teenage girl's life. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Maybe the Holly wrong. I know there was talk about salary issues. So
Yeah. It seems another time they're trying to undercut the actors in these things, like what happened with supposedly, Scarlett Johansson's cut from, sending Black Widow to, so quickly out of the theaters and all that. So, I mean, I really liked Inside Out, and this is one I argue with my wife about all the time. She hated it. It's her least favorite Pixar movie. So we actually, every time we want to put it on, it becomes a fight. I think there could be something. This is one I actually see a sequel that something could be done with, and I mean maybe they tried to lowball these actors because the rumor was they gave Poehler $5 million. They offered Kaling and Hader $100,000. So that's a big discrepancy. And I wonder if maybe they were only supposed to be small parts because maybe fear becomes, and a teenager becomes anxiety, and like the character changes, so they were only going to be in for a few minutes, or disgust becomes envy or jealousy or something like these emotions might change as she becomes a teenager. However, the Inside Out sequel I want to see is just an hour and a half of the inside the cat's head that we saw during the credits of the first movie, and I would watch that, all day.
Chief Leaf said in chat, the remakes do work better on Disney Plus since my expectations are lower versus going to see them in the theaters. Interesting. Did that fix Artemis Fowl for you, Chief? I mean, I'm just asking for a friend. I mean, you're right though. Like, I don't have as big of expectations of Lady and the Tramp as I might have for Beauty and the Beast, because it just didn't seem. I mean, I don't know. I agree with you. I think that's a good point to make. Also, from the live action panel, where was Stitch? Because they keep talking about Stitch, and also Hercules. That's one that's supposed to be. Christine, you need to run down and audition for Meg. You need to get on that.
I feel like somehow Ariana Grande is gonna weasel her way into that part. I do.
Well, okay. All right. Fair enough. They did mention during the Inside Out panel that they were going to be having new emotions, like some new emotions. They didn't say anybody was going away, so maybe they'll get that figured out before they get too far into this and offer some kind of olive branch to those two, because it would be neat to have everybody in the movie. Maybe even bring Richard Kind back as Bing Bong somehow. Before we get into the Disney animation, there was another thing that they brought out, which was from Kugali, which I didn't put on our list tonight, but the Kugali studio, apparently, Jennifer Lee, the head of Disney Animation, told this story of how some, I think it was an African animation company basically said they were coming to kick Disney's butt, and she was like, let me see what you guys have. And so they partnered with Kugali to do a movie called Iwaju, which it looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, here's a picture of the artwork here, although that looks basically like a large version of Bruni from Frozen 2. Looks like a complete ripoff from that, or maybe a little bit of Tangled mixed in with that one, but I don't know. It's definitely an interesting take on it, where you've got two different segments of a world where there's the haves and the have-nots. There's the people who live day to day, and then there's the people who have all this technology. And so it's an interesting, and I mean, I'm not sure I got the whole story out of what they were doing, but they kind of discussed a little bit. And it's interesting to have a partnership with an outside company. I mean, I've seen Disney, like with Pixar, they just paid for distribution rights for the early movies. Like Pixar made the movie, they said, here, Disney, if you put your name on this, we'll share the money with you before they bought them. Feels like the same thing here. Maybe this could be eventually, Ron, part of the company?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know much about this partnership. I don't know if it is a distribution deal. I don't know if maybe it's, let's let an African company to design African characters, and then we'll use a Disney animation to do the in-betweens or whatever like that, or get, things like that. But I like the idea of, I mean, even though it's a fantasy African culture, it being driven by an African company for that. It's Wakanda with a little bit more verisimilitude behind it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just for the sake of time, the last couple that they had for this panel were, they talked about Zootopia Plus, which is going to be a limited series on Disney Plus with the worlds of Zootopia. So rather than it be like Baymax shorts where it went from, Baymax helping this person to this person to this person, it's going to be like an inside look at each individual group, Life in Rodentia and things like that. So that looks like it could be cute. Definitely the one with the date where it's, the sloths going out to dinner, but I feel like they're just shorts. I don't think these are like I was disappointed on how short the Baymax shorts were. Like I expected that to be a series, and they were just like 7 minutes long each. And the same thing with I Am Groot. We knew those were going to be shorts.
Yeah, the Cars ones were a little longer. I mean, I think the Baymax ones were definitely longer than Groot. The Groot ones were like 3 minutes. The Cars one seems like the right length for these shorts, and there were more of them. But it just seems like we're doing shorts instead of just saying it's a special and putting it together as something like that. And that's my biggest gripe with these things. I think they've all been done well, and maybe they're allowing directors or writers or animators to test out some stuff. And maybe that's what the actual purpose of these things is for. But I feel that some of these stories could have been expanded a lot more, particularly like the I Am Groot stuff could have definitely been done better.
Allison's in chat saying more Baymax. Desi's in chat saying my kids are obsessed with the Cars ones. So,
The Cars ones were really great. I actually loved them, and my daughter was singing the theme song by the fourth one in.
I'm forced to talk about this because it was a super chat from Chief. So thank you, Chief, for the $5. He is saluting our good friend Katie from Disneyland News Today. Happy birthday to Deep in the Plus star Katie. We'll never forget the Disneyland News Today Golden Age. So, Chief, on behalf of Katie, will say thank you, and again to Katie, happy birthday. She's going to be back soon to do another episode of Deep in the Plus. So, Chief, save up that money. Again, I'm going to move on from this one to talk about the final one they had in that panel, just because there was so much that was dropped. I want to kind of cover everything. And the last one was Wish, and it was interesting because they said we were trying to figure out Jennifer said we were trying to figure out how to put this is the 100 years of the Disney company. D23 stands for 1923 when the company was born, and then next year is 2023, so 100 years of Disney, or 100 years of wonder. So they were like, what could we do for our movie for next year? So they talked about Strange World. Let's put a hold on Wish for a second, because Strange World's coming out in November. And here's why I want to talk about Strange World. A couple of reasons. One is the Quaid fella. Is it Jack Quaid?
Dennis Quaid.
No. His son.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
but
Jack.
Oh, yeah. You mean the one in The Boys, Jack.
Right. He was also in another movie called Ithaca that Christine was in. So, did you ever get to meet, you met his mom, but did you ever get to meet Dennis Quaid?
I I didn't meet Jack at all while we were working on set, but the three boys in the movie that play the soldiers, they're all in a comedy group with Jack called Sasquatch Comedy, and last fall I went to see one of their shows, and I actually met Jack for the first time after the show, and I was like, hey, you don't...
But you played his sister in that, right?
Yeah, but we didn't have any scenes together, so in film, if you don't have scenes, sometimes you never actually get to meet the person, which is kind of weird, but it was cool though. I ended up finally getting to meet him.
In that movie, though, you were that was your brother, Meg Ryan was your mother, and Tom Hanks was your father.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
That is true.
So your brother's dad, Dennis
Yes.
Quaid, is in this new movie, and it's Strange World, and it's Jake Gyllenhaal, Dennis Quaid. I forget who else is in it off the top of my head, but it looks very indeed strange. And the first trailer I saw from it, it was like a Plan 9 from Outer Space throwback movie. And then when I saw this one, it's just like sort of this like Swiss Family Robinson sort of a situation where the dad, who's played by Dennis Quaid, is out in he's lost and we think he's gone, and then Jake Gyllenhaal's character comes out and they run into him in this really strange world, and they all help each other to survive. So did you watch this trailer, Christine? And is this one that, like, are you buying in? Because this is an original story for once, right? So what did you think?
Yeah, I watched the trailer. I thought it was cool. I'm definitely interested, and I am totally gonna see it. But at first, I thought it was like a weird, like, Body Wars type thing. I thought that maybe they were like inside a person because of the way the environment looks at first. But then I was like, no, that's not what this is at all.
Yeah.
It still looks really cool. I'm totally gonna see it.
No, that's a great point, because it almost looked like a bloodstream as they were going through that thing. Alicia, thoughts?
The Body Wars deep cut. It's funny that it's to Swiss Family Robinson, because I thought modern day Atlantis. That is what I get when I watch this trailer.
Okay.
And then that's not a bad thing. I like it. Like, I'm excited for the movie. I'll go see it. But modern day Atlantis is what I think.
Yeah, Ron, are you running out to see this one?
Yeah, I think I am. I think it looks interesting. I did not see the second trailer that dropped over the weekend. I've only seen the first one, and it left a lot of, like, it's a teaser, so it left a lot of questions. I thought I watched all the trailers that dropped, but I guess this one was not in the compilation I saw if they released a new one at D23. So I didn't see anything of the story. I'm still wondering, is it another planet? Is it another dimension? Are they inside? Is it like a journey to the center of the earth kind of thing? What is it going to be? And Disney has a mixed bag with the adventure. Like, a lot of things seem to be like good adventure films, and not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with it, end up being a character development and emotional development film, but like, I thought when Frozen 2's trailers came out, it looked like it was a much more of an action adventure than the sisters' relationship being the plot. So that's one of my hesitancies with some of these, what Disney presents as action adventure animation.
Yeah, I look at this one and I like that it's an original story that I don't know what I'm going to see. That's what I'm excited about, is it's going to be something new and different. And so it comes out this Thanksgiving, I believe. So that's exciting. So back to the 100 Years of Wonder thing. We had information that there were going to be 2 movies announced. One was The Princess and the Pea, and the other one was Bluebeard. And that both of those, they were considering the possibility for the next century, starting back into hand-drawn animation. They didn't announce either of those two things. They didn't talk about either of those two things. And so when they were talking about this other movie that they were putting together, they're like, what could we do for the 100th that we could do that would tie into like our storied history? And they decided that the Wishing Star, and they showed a little bit of a, not a trailer, but kind of a montage of like all of the characters who wish upon a star. That's actually kind of smart, you know, to be able to tie things in like that. It's a little bit of a reach, but I think that it's really smart the way they put that together. And so there's a place where, you know, kind of those wishes come true, and in this world, they were going to do a different kind of animation. I'm like, oh, hand-drawn animation's coming back. No, it's weird. It's a weird kind of animation. It's like a computer animation meets something else. And so, Alicia, because I know that you're a student of art and you also have a cat prowling behind you, but I would ask you, like, did you look at this and what did you think, and are you excited about it?
Oh, I drank the Kool-Aid for this one. I am so ready for this movie. It looks gorgeous. The goat in that still, I need him like yesterday. He's got to sit by Olu. Yeah, no, I think it looks great. I love the premise. I am so excited for this project.
Yeah. So there's the goat.
Look at him. He's so cute. He just like, he needs to be sitting on my shelf with me in his little onesie. I love you, goat.
So a goat in pajamas. So can I give a little bit of a spoiler about the goat? So apparently,
yeah, I need to know everything.
So apparently, the goat makes his own wish, and the wish is to speak. And he's voiced by Alan Tudyk.
Oh my gosh, I love everything about this.
So so one of the highlights, I believe, of this panel to me was when Amy Poehler came out. She was so good. She was so good. But the other one, maybe my favorite, was when Alan Tudyk came out, because Jennifer says, and here's our lucky charm, because, you know, John Ratzenberger's the Pixar lucky charm. He voices in every one. Alan Tudyk in the modern Disney movies has voiced him, you know, everything. He was King Candy, you know, he was the Duke of Wesselton, and then Duke Weaselton in Zootopia. So he did all these. So when he stood out on stage, they were showing the pictures, and he would go into each of the voices. So he would do the King Candy voice, and he would do the other, and then the big like pill bug horse thing from Raya. He was like, so for this one, I basically went, Mwah! I mean, it just. He was hilarious, and he talked about voicing Hey Hey, and then he was like talking about voicing Alistair from Baymax. He goes, that one, that's just me. He's like, I'm with that guy every day. That's like, you know, like Seth MacFarlane doing Brian. Like that's his regular voice. But this one, it was the animation that they had was just a test animation with the goat. I agree with you, 100% adorable, 100% marketable. Everybody's going to have one in their house. You know, the goat pulls up and says, you know, Grogu, hold my beer. This is a cute little dude, and it's just so funny because he can talk. So
I love it. I'm so ready.
Yeah. So Christine's smiling. Is there something about this that you like a lot?
It just sounds cute. I mean, you guys keep talking about it, and I don't know much about it, but it sounds adorable, and I'm into it.
Well, and it's supposed to come out November 2023, so to be part of the 100 Years of Wonder. Ariana DeBose is the voice of Asha, who is the lead. She came out on stage during the panel and sang the song from Wish.
Was it amazing?
2 other times I've felt that at a D23. One, Idina Menzel, before I knew anything about what Frozen was, came out and sang Let It Go. The second one was when Anika Nani Rose came out and sang from Princess and the Frog, and just both of them just like chills. This one the same. I mean, it was so good. And the music is written by Julia Michaels.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is weird, right? Because, like, I feel like she's written music for other people, but she's only really had one hit, which is Issues. So I got Issues, you got them too, if anybody's, you know, keeping track out there. That's the music side of my life. But, you know, she is it's kind of like, feels like a Sarah Bareilles thing, how Sarah Bareilles wrote all the music for Waitress. It feels like, okay, this is kind of Julia Michaels is about to become something big, because that song was amazing. So, again, I wish a lot of the stuff that happens in these particular panels could be out there, but they have people walking the aisles to make sure you don't film stuff. If you've seen any footage or anything, it's because there were people who were tagged as press who were allowed to take pictures. But a lot of the stuff that is actual footage, and they're like, we bring this just for you because you're Disney's biggest fans. And again, I buy into all of it, and I'm just like, yep, that's me. I'm here. Bring it. What you got? I'm excited. So that
I've
was
had problems with Marvel security at panels before.
Oh yeah. You mean messing with you?
Yeah. It was a panel. They said, no pictures, and I had a press badge, and I had called and I had spoke before I could do audio, and I had permission, but like the actual security guards weren't cleared on that, so they made me like erase my thumb drive and audio, and I lost like a bunch of interviews that were on there from throughout the day too.
People are the worst. Sorry about that, man. So let's move on. And first of all, again, thank you guys for being with us tonight. Thank you for being here on the panel. We're going to move on to the next panel, which was Lucasfilm, Marvel, Fox. We'll go through this one a little bit faster because I think that there are a couple highlights I want to hit in this one for sure. But if you haven't already, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to WD. I almost said the wrong one. WDWNT TV. For more great content, including News Tonight, will be making its return tomorrow night. So go ahead and subscribe now, and then also join us for Park Center on Sunday, when we're going to have this same conversation, but we're going to be talking about the parks side of what they announced at D23, and we'll have Tom Corliss on for that one. He'll be talking about his opinions, and then I will give the opposite. I'm just kidding. So the Lucasfilm one, I believe, so they had for Lucasfilm, and this was day 2. Day 1 was the one that we just talked about. Day 2, it was this showcase, and they talked about a lot of stuff. Now, I went to Star Wars Celebration and got to see like Mandalorian Season 3 and Ahsoka and some of that stuff, but they showed footage of Tales of the Jedi, which, I don't know, is anybody here a Clone Wars fan?
Yeah.
I feel like your fiance is a Clone Wars fan down there, Christine.
series?
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Tim is a big Clone Wars fan.
Yeah, what were you going to say, Alicia?
Are we talking about animated series or like the movies?
So Tales, the animated series, sorry.
Oh, well then, yeah, 100%.
You're like, it's a prequel?
Yeah, exactly.
So Tales of the Jedi looks to be basically like Ahsoka prequel, the way they're showing it. Did you, and Christine, did you sit down with your fiance and just you guys talk about it and him tell you why it was awesome, or?
I don't think he didn't. He only started watching all the trailers with me today later on after I'd watched all the Star Wars ones. But I'm not like, I guess I haven't seen the Clone Wars ones, but the Tales of the Jedi actually looks really good.
Yeah.
I like that there's all those familiar characters that you already know in there too. So I'm not a huge like watcher, I guess, of Star Wars animation, but this one kind of piqued my interest.
Gotcha. We have another super chat from WDW Mickey. Thank you. It says, for the Rob, I guess that's me. It says, split with the Supreme Leader. I assume that's Tommy. So thank you for your super chat. We appreciate you, WDW Mickey. Love talking with you in the chats and everything. So thanks for being here with us. So let's go to Ron on this one, because I feel like you're a little bit leaning more into the Star Wars fandom. So we'll go to you, and then we'll go to Alicia. Tales of the Jedi, though, what do you think?
I think it's going to be interesting. I worry, once again, how short these shorts are going to be, the way they said it. But I think they're going to play off some nice parallels between Dooku left the Jedi and joined the Sith for a lot of the same type of reasons. Ahsoka ends up quitting as a Padawan. So I really hope they play into some of those parallels and just how these two characters go in such different directions because of that.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, I looked at it, and it looks like this is just basically a Clone Wars prequel, but I don't know what you thought about it, Alicia.
digging on like their like wiki before this, and it looks like the first episode's about Ahsoka's birth and kind of like her first time like going with like her mother. And like you were saying, Ron, I think it would be really interesting to see kind of those parallels between the two. But at the end of the day, anything that's Ahsoka related, I will watch because I love her. She's my favorite Star Wars character.
Isn't it funny though that I feel like Disney was on this path? They were going to release a new Star Wars movie like every year, and it was going to be like one of the trilogies and then one of the stories like Rogue One or Solo, a Star Wars story, like these Star Wars stories. And then they were like, we're oversaturating, we're doing too much. Clearly that wasn't the problem. Clearly they were just going in the wrong direction, because oversaturation, good golly, like, did you think there would be so much Star Wars? Like, as a kid, I only had the original trilogy. I had no idea that we would be looking at Andor and Bad Batch and Tales of the Jedi and Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew and Mandalorian and, you know, I mean, there's even the Disney Junior show, the Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures. Like, what? Like, that's kind of crazy. I think that's why everybody loved the holiday special, because it's like, oh, cool, just a little more Star Wars for us.
Yeah.
I don't think it's oversaturation. I think that they didn't know what to call it, or they didn't know what the issue was at the moment, and then they realized that the issue was the sequel was really digging it, and then I think they finally started to figure out this is what the audience wants, and they started leaning into, you know, Mando and Boba and Ahsoka, and now it's like they found the key. They know what the people want, so yeah, they're going to saturate it, but it's with proper content now.
What the people want is Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. That's what the people want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Ron?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's what the movies were lacking, and it was very clear, versus what the TV shows have, is that showrunner concept, that through line between these series. Andor might not, I don't know how much Favreau and Filoni, I'm sure they're producing in some way with Andor, but like everything else are these characters that these guys kind of work on, and there's a through line that we're going to see between at least like Mando and Boba and Ahsoka. Like, these characters are all going to be tied into some sort of story together, and I think, you know, I think it's going to be like the Siege of Mandalore or whatever by the end of things. So that's what the trilogy was like. Rogue One was the best of them because it was a standalone and that had a concept behind it. I think, like, on the other hand, Solo was interference from every angle, directors being changed. That's what fell apart there. And going from one director to another on a trilogy that wasn't planned out had huge consequences for the brand there. And more than as good or bad as any of those movies was, relied on the fact that they didn't know what they were doing at the start. And I think Filoni knows what he's doing with all of these animated and live action, because it's a franchise needs a showrunner. Like, Feige is a showrunner for the Marvel movies. He's not the hands-on producer. He's not doing anything. But he's the one saying, this is what you need to put between these things. And it needs that TV mentality on these franchises, not this almost auteur filmmaker thought that, like, unfortunately Abrams and Johnson kind of have on their own. Not to fault either of them on other movies. I think that works for them in other things. I don't think it worked together on those.
Yeah, I feel like, and this, again, was very true at Star Wars Celebration. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, back to the whole Lin-Manuel thing, gods. Just, like, they walk around, they're gods at these cons, because they're so appreciated for what they have brought creatively to this series. And I think for Dave Filoni, this is like this huge sandbox where he was like, I was doing animated, and now I get to pick each of my animated characters out and make them live action. Cad Bane can go here, and let me pull Ahsoka out and put her here, and then Ezra's going here, and like, it's amazing that he gets to do that, and I love watching him do it, and I love how they pull it off. It's so cool to see all that happen. But Jon Favreau, during the Parks panel, came out to talk about Mando, and he and Josh D'Amaro were standing there. I was like, let's make those guys in charge of this company. Josh D'Amaro, Jon Favreau,
my gosh,
together.
What a powerhouse.
Please, let's
What
make
a
that happen at some point.
powerhouse.
That would be so good.
Oof.
I mean, Kevin Feige, he could be in there too. Give him the studios.
Yeah,
And then we'll
right.
put the two of them in charge of the company. I'm going to work it all out right now. We'll get it done.
Business plan tonight. I
Yeah,
expect
exactly.
it.
Let's get it done. I feel like, and I wanted to say this, that Dawn said this in chat. That's why us old folks, first of all, you're not, but us old folks are so attached to the OG trilogy because it was our whole Star Wars life. There's so much Star Wars. I was rewatching Big Bang Theory, and I've mentioned this before, where they were going to watch the Clone Wars series, but they hadn't watched the Clone Wars animated movie yet. They preceded it, and Sheldon says, "I want George Lucas to disappoint me in sequential order." It's kind of all over the place, even with these TV series that, if you're a casual fan, and Christine, hold on, I'm coming to you, asking you a question about this in a second. If you're a casual Star Wars fan, and you've got Mandalorian, and it's in this time period, and then you've got Obi-Wan, and it's in this time period, and now here comes Andor, that's in this time period. Can you keep track of all that pretty easily, or do you need kind of like a Cliff Notes to keep track of what's in what time frame?
Yeah. Sometimes Tim has to help me out with that. I'll be a little confused at what like, when did something else happen before this? And he'll have to like fill me in because he's like the super fan. So it does get confusing for me sometimes.
Yes, you just need to call in nerd support, and if he's not around, just hit me up. I got you. But it's just so funny to me that they are able to do this, and it seems to work. Like we were talking about, Alicia, it just seems to now. It's like they've kind of fixed it. They've figured it out, and so all this Star Wars stuff is great. I'm excited to see what's next, and Andor I'm very interested in because I was a huge fan of Rogue One. It'll be neat to see how Andor, like, how it relates. And again, there's a cattail.
Yeah, he's just really excited about Star Wars. What can I say?
So they finished off the other two items in the Lucas part were Willow. Are there any Willow super fans here? Oh my gosh! Come on, Ron, come with it. What you got?
Willow. I remember my dad taking me to that movie and very fondly, and it was. It's not as high fantasy as a lot of other stuff that's come out after it, but it really is in other ways. Like, it was a great world in one movie that told a great story. And then I remember when the Chris Claremont books came out in the late 90s, and I picked one up. Me and my friends saw them at the store. I picked one up. He picked one up. He started reading a bit ahead of me, and he's just like, yeah, don't bother. Matt Mardigan's not in it, and I never actually finished them because of that, but I am really excited for this. I really think the continuation of the story is going to be awesome, and not having him in it is just because after having seen Maverick, I really think I'd be even more disappointed if they tried to give current Val Kilmer a sword and have him run around in leather armor.
Alicia, are you somewhat of a fan?
I didn't know that this had source material. I didn't know that this had source material the entire time.
Good night, everybody. Wait, what? You didn't know that?
Yeah. I had no clue. Not a clue. That said, like, I was really excited for it. I think that this caters to that kind of Game of Thrones, Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings. We're getting all these, new TV shows for high fantasy right now. And I think Disney Plus clearly was missing that because, let's face it, it's like a kind of a children's streaming TV service. It's a gap for them pretty well, I think. I'm excited for it. I didn't know.
All right, Christine, were you saying you didn't know it had a source material either?
Nope, I didn't know.
Have you seen the trailer now, and are you excited about it?
Oh yeah, I love anything that's like fantastical with like magic and all that type of stuff.
Okay. So to me, that's crazy that you guys didn't know that there was an original movie. Ron, we might as well pack it in, buddy.
I actually have toys from this still in the basement.
I almost bought an action figure that they had that they were selling that they had recreated for D23, and I almost bought an action figure. I was like, wait a minute, I got too many fandoms as it is. I can't buy into Willow as well here. So it'll be interesting to see. But
I have bought this movie on DVD, Blu-ray, everything when it came out. I really do love Willow, and if you haven't seen it, it is a lot of fun. I think it's in that cult classic. Like I don't know how great a movie would be if I was an adult when I first saw it, but like Val Kilmer and Warwick Davis just kill it the whole movie. Like they really do.
What I'm hearing you say, Ron, is you and me deep in the plus Willow.
Oh yeah, anytime.
Okay, the original, the OG.
Oh yeah.
All right, so back into the rest of this. The last Lucas film that they talked about was Indiana Jones 5, which I feel like we've been talking about this since Indiana Jones 4. I mean, you know, they needed to retcon. I mean, they needed to basically make us forgive them for Indiana Jones 2 by making Indiana Jones 3. Indiana Jones 3 is by far my favorite, The Last Crusade. And I think that at the time Lucas and Spielberg sort of said it was sort of an apology in a way to the second one, because the second one was like a little over the top and a little gross and a little weird and all that kind of stuff. And you know, maybe Spielberg just made it so he could get Kate Capshaw. I don't know how that worked out, but it you know, it was okay. I mean, it's part of the trilogy, the original trilogy. Now I feel like everybody needs them to apologize for 4, because I think when most people talk about Indiana Jones 4, the first thing they go is the aliens thing. Oh, why? Why did they do the aliens thing? So Indiana Jones 5, Ron, yes or no? We don't have any footage, but are you excited?
No, I mean, you could just tell me a date, and like the show could just be Indiana Jones, and whatever the title's going to be, and a date, and I'm there. I mean, it doesn't really need anything on that. Even as bad as, I don't think I've watched Crystal Skull again. I mean, there's a reason "nuke the fridge" is a saying. It was pretty bad. I don't blame Ford. I don't blame Spielberg. It really was kind of, it felt 100% later stage Lucas trying to just make, like, oh no, this was supposed to be for kids the whole time. And of course, Shia LaBeouf just, oh dear God, that monkey.
They're again, retcon seems to be the word here. I feel like they're gonna have to fix a lot of stuff in this next one. Alicia, did you know there were Indiana Jones movies before this one?
It's weird. It's like I knew that Indiana Jones was a thing. I haven't seen all of them though. I've seen the first one, and that was it because I got really bored. And I watched them as an adult, and I had been introduced to National Treasure many, many, many years before, and I was like, this movie's better. And that's where we're at.
Wait, National Treasure's better, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Good night, everyone.
I don't even know what to say to that. Good Lord. Christine, how do you feel about this one?
I like the Indiana Jones movies. I'm not, like, it's not something that makes me, like, incredibly, insanely excited, but I would see it. I like them.
Yeah. Again, Big Bang, you would think that I have stock in it, but there was a reference, because it's nerd culture, there was a reference in it where Sheldon makes Amy watch it, and then he's like, what did you think? And please know that you have to say you loved it because it's my favorite movie. And it was Raiders, the first one, and she says, well, it's great except for the big flaw. And he's like, what flaw? She's like,
oh no, I know this, yeah.
She's like, Indiana Jones had no effect on that movie. And he's like, what? And it's like, if Indiana Jones hadn't come in, the Nazis would have found the Ark, they would have opened it, they would have died. All of that would have happened without Indiana Jones. And then all the other guys were like, no, oh my gosh, she's right. Like,
that theory existed before that was on the internet before Big Bang was
I'm
out,
sure.
But,
I'm sure.
It's true, but it doesn't mean that I haven't got a double midnight features of these films before, so.
Okay, so let's roll on and let's talk about Marvel, because Marvel rolled out a ton of stuff at Comic-Con. They were back at Comic-Con this year, and they rolled out a complete slate of stuff. And Marvel is like, there's so many announcements that are made, and then there's so many like these teasers at the end of movies and all these other things. It feels like there's so much Marvel to keep track of. But of the things that they released, they did a new trailer for Wakanda Forever, and I still don't think we know, how that ends, which I kind of love. It's a tragedy that Chadwick Boseman passed away so young. He was the king. It'll be interesting to see who becomes the new Black Panther. That's got to be a lot of pressure on them, because they said they weren't going to recast. They were going to, honor his legacy. He was made a Disney legend, good, just at this expo. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. They've already spoiled the fact that they introduced a new hero in this movie, and I guess for better or for worse, they've spoiled the fact that, and shut your ears if you don't already know this or want to know this, the Namor, like Prince Namor, he's the Aquaman of the Marvel universe. He's been on the, kind of on the outskirts of the MCU for so long, and now he's going to be in this movie. And I'm sure a ton of people don't know who Namor is, but it'll be really neat to see this character come to life. I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see what they do. I hope I can watch this day one so it's not spoiled for me, but it's coming in November. And then they talked a little bit about Ironheart, because Ironheart sort of shoots off of that movie. Because if you've ridden Web Slingers, anybody here ridden Web Slingers in California Adventure?
Give me a week and a half.
Okay, all right. So in the queue, basically the idea of Avengers Campus is that Tony Stark brought all these kids together that are going to be the next generation of inventors and scientists, and so this girl is part of that. And as you see the signage around, they've got Harley, who was the guy from Iron Man 3, who was called him the mechanic, and he showed up at his funeral. Tony's funeral, and then you've got Peter is there, Peter Parker's there, and all these others, and so she's there, and so she's born out of the Wakanda Forever story, I believe, and then they go into Ironheart with that. And then Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is something we've been teased with a bunch, because it's like, this is kind of, Kang was introduced to us in Loki, but this is where he kind of starts to turn on. He becomes the big bad moving forward. So I don't know, Alicia, how dialed in are you to the Marvel Universe? Are you excited about all this stuff?
So I was really dialed in. I would say phase 1, phase 2, I was there for it. And then I think there became so much. And it was just it almost gave me anxiety, because I was like, what am I missing? Or I didn't watch this movie and now I don't know what's happening. So I finished, phase 3, I think was the last one where, they kill Thanos, whatever. And I've kind of fallen off since then. But I really want to see Wakanda Forever, because I want to see how they handle the whole Chadwick situation. And I do think the movies are good. I think it's just a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. Again, Christine, I know you guys are a Star Wars household, but do you guys watch all the Marvel movies as well? Are you a fan?
I was sort of into them in the beginning, but I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I just feel like they kept remaking a variation on the same movie over and over again. But there were some standouts, like Black Panther obviously was a standout. I really liked Civil War. I'm really curious about the Wakanda Forever. And then when they started branching out and doing this series, that repeat my interest in Marvel again.
Shame on both of you. So, no, I love every bit of it, and I want more. I can't wait for the next things to happen. As we go through the Marvel Universe, I'm always wanting the next thing. I love that there's so much. When I was a kid, there wasn't a ton of superhero stuff in the theater, and now we have it on Marvel and Disney Plus, and we have it in the theater. And there's the Sony stuff that ties in with the Spider-Man movies, and I couldn't be more excited about where we are with all of this stuff. So for me, I'm excited about Ant-Man and the Wasp movies in general. Both of the first two were so good. I can't wait to see this. One of the comments that I heard from somebody was, and I again wasn't in this panel, but they showed some footage and they said it went from funny to dead serious almost instantly, and that's kind of how how Ant-Man and the Wasp really were. But as you guys were talking about, both of you said you liked the first phases, and the first phases were very compact, and we had a path. We were going towards the Infinity War. Like, that's where we were headed. And the recent stuff, and Ron, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but do you feel like they've kind of lost direction in Phase 4, and we've kind of been promised Phase 5 puts us back on a new path?
I think there's two things. Phase 4 was trying to do two things. It was trying to recreate Phase 1 with all these new characters, or smaller characters, trying to get them to build up the way Iron Man and Hulk and all that did. But it was also trying to wrap up the aftermath of, the blip and everything. So there was a lot in it, and it was long, it was complex, and we didn't feel it building to anything yet. Like, even if we weren't building to Infinity War in Iron Man 1, there was still that tease of the Avengers initiative. Now we know everything's out there, but other than multiverse this, multiverse that don't really tie 100% in together, and No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness were not supposed to come out in the order that they did, so things got jumbled up and things felt a little more convoluted, and COVID really kind of moved the order around of all these things, which then affected the stories that they were telling in them. Really has kind of made Phase 4 just feel all over the place. And from what we could see with the outline that they gave at Comic-Con of Phase 5 and 6, we are getting stricter into, this is the story we're building. And we have 2 or 3 major universe-defining events that are going to all be tied in together and build off of each other again. And I think we need that, and we do need these TV shows that are not as tied in to be kind of right now, She-Hulk is great. It's just there, and it's fun, and it ties into things, but I don't feel like if we miss this, I'm going to miss something that's going to be important in, Secret Invasion.
Yep, I agree. I think all of that. I'm very excited to see where we go in Phase 5, and we haven't had in Phase 4 something that was really an Avengers movie, right? So everything is we've ended Phase 3 with the Avengers Endgame, and then Far From Home, and that was the end of Phase 4, and then we start 3. Then we start Phase 4, and we've got WandaVision, and we've got all these other shows, and now we've got to consume to both the ladies said, the TV shows, little too much. There's a lot you have to watch to kind of be tied in, and especially What If. I think a lot of people slept on What If, and What If sort of tied in a little bit to Multiverse of Madness.
Can I speak to What If super quick?
I would love that.
So one of my best friends is a lighting supervisor for that show, and I love him so dearly. And he was really upset that they didn't show the trailer for season 2 because it's coming out early 2023. It's been announced. We know that. I'm not leaking anything. But yeah, he messaged me right after, and he was like, I don't know why they didn't show the trailer. I worked so hard on this trailer. Marvel, you messed up.
Well, and
they're very clear about the way they do a lot of trailers. And with movies getting delayed, trailers got delayed, oh, this was going to be so long in the future. It's only coming out in 2 months. Why don't we have a trailer? Well, because the other one got delayed, and because some of them, they play off of each other, you can't have the spoilers for something that hasn't happened yet, in the trailer. So that's we never see one trailer until the last movie's released. Because No Way Home, original final credit scene was Multiverse of Madness's teaser. Right. So these have to come out in a weird order.
So there were a lot of announcements made, and a lot of them were just kind of updates. So I think we already knew Secret Invasion and Armor Wars and Loki Season 2 and the Fantastic Four movie. They just kind of talked about the director. And then Echo, they brought the cast of Echo out, which Echo is an offshoot of Hawkeye, because they introduced her in Hawkeye. And so then you had Vincent D'Onofrio, which I love the fact that they're taking that Netflix Marvel universe. Am I the only one that saw all the Netflix shows?
I stopped at Jessica Jones season 2, not for any reason other than I felt like it was getting overwhelming at the time. I couldn't finish it at that point, and just haven't gone back, but it's still on my list to finish, except maybe Iron Fist 2.
Iron Fist, I think, hurt the whole thing, because I think the Danny Rand story wasn't one that people actually cared too much about. Like the Power Man thing was great with Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. That was a great, tie-in. I love, though, that they're bringing these characters back in the MCU, because there was a loose connection, because they talked about the Battle of New York, and they would talk about Hulk as the big guy or the big green guy or whatever, and the fact that they've brought all this stuff into the MCU with, they announced Daredevil Born Again, which we already knew about, but they brought out Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio out on stage, and it's like, oh, cool. Like, Charlie Cox said in his thing, like, it's like, I'm new to this because this is the first time we're in the MCU. Hadn't been part of this, but it's me still being Daredevil. And so that's kind of an amazing thing that they can merge these back together. They're available on Disney Plus. So if you get time, you can watch them, but it's a lot between Punisher, Defenders, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Daredevil. That's more than a weekend's worth of viewing for you. So if you get a chance, you should have done it during lockdown. That's my answer to that. You should have been watching all the Netflix shows. Captain America New World Order and Thunderbolts, we kind of knew about both of those already. Apparently those are going to be kind of running parallel to each other. Thunderbolts is all the bad guys together, which I was surprised to see Sebastian Stan back as Bucky for the bad guy movie. It's sort of their Suicide Squad. I know that somebody said earlier, I think it was Tony, said in chat, like, Aquaman came way after Namor, but I think a lot more people know Aquaman, which is why I said it's the Marvel's Aquaman. So I think this is Marvel's Suicide Squad, the Thunderbolts. And then they announced the Marvels, which again, we know we've been working towards that with Monica Rambeau from WandaVision and Kamala Khan and Carol Danvers all getting together and becoming the Marvels. So all that stuff is great. All this stuff I already knew about. The one thing I wasn't prepared for, to wrap this up, was Werewolf by Night. Did everybody watch that trailer? I want to start with you, Christine, because I assume you had no idea what you were getting yourself into when you watched that trailer.
No. I had to double check, and I was like, this is a Marvel project? Because I have no idea. I've never heard of it or anything about it beforehand, but it's giving, like, kind of old school, like, Frankenstein's monster vibes, and I love all of that. I'm super excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Honestly, I'm excited about the fact that we can actually watch this for Deep in the Plus for Halloween. So I've got more Halloween content for that one. But Werewolf by Night is coming out very soon. Alicia, you saw this. Are you excited about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm such a Universal, like, Monsters classic girl. And when I first saw the poster, I was like, this is already giving, like, Wolfman, aesthetics. And then when I watched the trailer, I kind of, continued seeing that trend. So I'm excited for it. Like I said, I don't understand the Marvel part, but that's fine. I'll learn. I'm going to actually watch this one. So.
And if you haven't seen it, there's a trailer on our website, and you can see, again, it looks very kind of old school monster movie. Ron, are you a fan?
Yeah, I've never read any Werewolf by Night. I know the characters. I haven't read a lot of the, I would call dark Marvel stuff, like the dark magic. But Blade was a great movie. Like the first one, I really did like the Wesley Snipes Blade. So it kind of is in that same universe. But I didn't think this was ready. I thought they were just filming this. I thought this was next Halloween until this dropped during the thing.
Yeah, so again, this is coming out this year, and I'm excited that we get to see this very shortly. But yeah, it seems weird that they have this very strange one-off. But I love that it's a one-off. It's not really going to be. It's kind of a special, like almost like a Marvel Halloween special. So I'm excited about that. In general, I think the Marvel panel didn't tell me much more than I already knew, though. In general, they brought people out, they gave some names, they gave some vague time periods. I agree with you, Alicia, they should have said something about What If Season 2, but it's still on the slate for early 2023 or late 2022. Like, we don't know exactly when it's coming out. So, I mean, maybe your lighting guy can tell us, or maybe you can just tell me if you don't want to spoil the whole thing for us. Loki Season 2, that's kind of exciting. But the final thing that they talked about in that panel was Avatar: The Way of Water. I have to ask you, Christine. First of all, I'm assuming you've never been to Pandora, the World of Avatar at Disney World.
I haven't, but
Okay.
I've seen video clips of it. Looks amazing.
So they'll have to build one in California for you. But when you go, I assume you've seen Avatar, and I need to know just off the top of your head, are you a fan of the original movie?
You know,
Be
I
honest.
remember watching it. It's been so long that I don't remember a whole lot about it. I remembered that it was pretty to watch, that there was action. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the first one, I think, before I see the second one, because I don't really remember.
That's fair. The problem is that they built this entire land in Florida for it at Animal Kingdom, and everyone loves the land, but I find very few people who actually love the movie. Alicia, what do you think?
I'm that person. I love the land, love the rides, love the aesthetic, love Santuli. Oh, Santuli's great. Couldn't really care much about the movie. I am not gonna probably watch the next one. I know James Cameron's like, we're gonna have so many of these, and I'm like, cool. I'm good with Flight of Passage, and thanks Joe Rody for making Pandora great.
But I mean, the new one, The Way of Water, Ron, to me, this looks like a sequel to Flight of Passage.
Uh, you know, I'm hoping there's a lot more story to it. I really did enjoy the first movie. It's not my favorite movie. It's not by far my favorite James Cameron movie. It's not my favorite James Cameron movie involving water. I'm going to tell you that right now, even before seeing this. Um, but he spent so much time world building in that. It's a 3 hour movie, and 2 hours of it something was still world building. So hoping we have more time for more story to come out of this movie, because I think he did build something incredible and gorgeous and kind of unique in that first movie. But you could also see where he was getting tired, and unobtainium had to have been a placeholder in the script that they just forgot to change until the last minute. It's just there's something more to it, and I hope we see it. My enthusiasm for this one is probably about the same as it was for the first movie. But if there's not a better story than this, my enthusiasm for 3, 4, and 5 is going to drop significantly.
Yeah, everybody, Tony Stank, 1138, and Cheever in chat going, love the land. There you go.
Also, like the night the first one came out, went to the movies, and I didn't go see that. I went to go see a Rough Tracks live instead. However, the mall got flooded. The mall I was at got flooded. I could not leave the mall, so I went back in and saw the Midnight of Avatar right afterward, and still couldn't leave the mall for another couple hours because it had rained enough that pickup trucks were getting flooded out in the parking lot.
So it was a hostage situation with you in this
That
movie.
made me see it the first time, and I still enjoyed it. And I do remember sitting about an hour and a half going to this movie, and I just realized, wait a minute, all of this is really animated, and that really impressed me.
Yeah. So that was the thing. Everybody was impressed by that. At this point, though, it's going to take more than that for people to love this second movie. I honestly
Yeah,
think...
we have mocap technology now. People
Right.
know what it is. It's not cool anymore.
Well, and the anti-aging that Marvel does and things like that, they really do.
3D's passe.
All the stuff from Luke Skywalker and Mando, like the daylight scenes of Mando,
Yes.
of the Mandalorian with Luke, and so good. So I mean, you're
Yeah.
right. Like, we have better technology than that. It's really going to have to be amazing. I don't see it being this huge billion-dollar box office thing that the first one was, and they've got, like you said, Alicia, many more. I think every time I turn around, he adds another one. I think we're up to 5,
Yeah.
total. So it's going to be interesting to see how all that works out.
I just hope this means we can finally get a Abyss. He has the time to finally do an Abyss 4K restoration, which I've been waiting for, which is his best movie.
You and James are the only two who have been looking for that, I'm pretty sure.
No, I think Abyss has a cult following.
I want to talk about a lot I mean, there's a lot left because they did another panel called the Disney Branded Content Panel that was hosted by Raven. And it was just a lot of stuff that normally I think would have been Disney Channel stuff, but because we have Disney Plus, I don't know how they make the decisions of what goes where. For Disney Channel, they're doing Under Wraps 2, Descendants 4, and then they talked about Raven's Home. Descendants 4? Christine, did you see 1 through 3? Do we need a 4?
No. No, they wrapped it up in a nice little bow. It's a great little trilogy.
And isn't one of the leads dead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cameron Boyce passed away.
I think it would be sad to make one without him.
Yeah. And it looks like it's China Anne McClain's movie rather than it being Dove Cameron's movie. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know that anybody asked for that, but also I don't think anybody asked for Under Wraps 2, and yet here we are coming out with Under Wraps 2. And then a lot of this stuff, again, this is Disney Channel, but it'll eventually, I'm sure, find its way very quickly to Disney Plus. They talked about a lot of things. I'm just going to, like, Hip Hop Nutcracker. Don't know what's happening there. Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I was a little bit disappointed in this one because I was looking for live action, and this is going to be a weird animated show. So that's another one that's, again, from the Avengers campus, and you know, another young scientist girl who finds a way to bring a dinosaur into this world, and then they go and fight crime together. John Stamos is coming out with Big Shots Season 2. Doogie Kamaloha MD. I don't the girl from Andy Mack anyway is in that one. Zombies 3 they talked about, but Zombies 3 is already out. So there was a lot of this stuff they talked about. So I would just want to talk about 4 last ones. National Treasure, and I'm gonna go to you, Alicia, because you are the National Treasure aficionado. You and I are going to have to do a National Treasure Deep in the Plus, because I did not know that you heralded this movie over Indiana Jones. So when you saw this trailer, were you excited about that and seeing Justin Bartha at the end?
Let me put it, I've watched National Treasure so much I can probably quote it, and I watched the second one probably half as much, but still I have like a pretty big familiarity with like this whole thing, this whole world. So as soon as they announced that there was going to be a TV show, like however many years ago, I think it was last D23, or maybe it was Disney Plus Day actually, I like called my dad instantly and I was like, it's happening, it's finally happening, we're going to get a show. And we talked about it like in a half an hour, what we thought it might be. Super excited. The premise of what it's going to be, it's like the name of it, but it's like American Treasure or something along those lines, or Pan American Treasure. Super exciting concept though. Really excited to see him coming back. At least I know that, you know, we're not going to get Nick Cage and then whatever the woman, whoever she was, I know she's not coming back. Do you remember her name? Blonde lady. I really should know this, but I don't.
Blonde lady's not coming back, says the girl whose favorite movie is National Treasure.
She's not my favorite movie. I just love it so much. No, I'm super excited though. And then my dad is like a treasure hunter now, so like I feel like we're gonna like really get into this, and it's gonna be great. I'm so excited. No, I'm watching it. And yes, I will do a Deep in the Plus with you, Rob.
Diane Kruger? Is that who you're talking about? Abigail Chase?
Yes, Diane Kruger and Nick Cage. We're not getting them, but that's okay. We don't need them.
But apparently there's going to be a National Treasure 3 movie, so there's a possibility that this series will lead into the National Treasure 3 movie with Nick Cage. By the way, that Nick Cage movie about where he plays himself, very good movie. Just putting that out there if y'all haven't seen that one. So let me just skip around again for time's sake and talk about the next one that I wanted to talk about, which is the Santa Clauses. So Tim Allen is back again in a series where he is basically giving up the mantle of the Santa Claus, and they bring back Bernard, who wasn't in the third movie, and that to me is interesting. Christine, do you have I'm sure that you sat around and watched these Santa Claus movies, yes?
I did, yeah. I feel like they got progressively weirder. I think the original is the magic. I don't mind the second one, but I'm not sure. I will watch the series. I will watch it, but sequels. I think it's a sequel thing for me. I don't know.
Well, I think that the plus of Disney Plus is that they can create extended content from any world we have. But the early conversations, I think, Alicia, was, should they? Should they be going back into this universe, Alicia?
I thought it was really funny. The first comment that I saw online about this was people thought Bernard was dead because he wasn't in the third movie, and then they like rejoiced because he's alive in the show, which good for him. Happy he didn't die, dude. But I don't mind that they're going back to it. It's a pretty old story at this point, but I thought that it was. I mean, it's cute for kids. Like I know that my nieces will watch it. I think it's good for the younger generation who might not know, or like, if aunt and uncle are like, hey, watch the Santa Claus, and they're like, what's that? But then we show them the TV show, they might be more willing to go watch the movie.
I'm not gonna lie. The past, I think, 3 Christmases we've watched all 3.
Okay.
Because it's just, I mean, it's the first one, Christine, to your point, great, like flawless movie, perfect movie. I felt the same way about Enchanted, like top to bottom, it's exactly what I wanted in a movie. It's the way it started, the way it ended, the whole story. It could have stayed where it was. The second movie was, again, they got to break something. They break the fact that he's not going to be Santa unless he gets a Mrs. Claus. It's the Mrs. Claus. The wordplay, that was great. Bernard's still in it. That's great. It gets a little dicey, with that one. But then you come back for the third movie, which Dawn said in chat, I don't even think I've seen the third movie. That was the one with Martin Short, who I would have thought was a kiss of death for anything until Only Murders in the Building, and now I'm a huge fan again. But him as Jack Frost, and again, apologies to anybody this is their childhood favorite movie, but it was, again, that I hate that they have to break things, that Santa's getting like ornery with people and he's frustrated and he doesn't want to be Santa anymore, and Jack tricks him and all this stuff. So I want this to be good. Like, I want this. I'm semi excited about going back into this universe, but I'm also a little bit Mighty Ducks scared about going back into this universe with the Mighty Ducks TV show. So we'll see how it works. And Dawn says, wait, yes, I did see that movie. So apparently for her, she watched them all together and couldn't tell where one started and where the other ended, which is a testament to a trilogy, right? Like, it all rolls together very well. So Ron, any thoughts on the Santa Clauses before we move on?
Yeah, I've never seen 3. I only watched 2, I think, last year for the first time. I think maybe my only thought I saw when the trailer came out was like, maybe now people will like stop saying Disney's refusing to work with Tim Allen, and that's why they cast Chris Evans. Like, there was some like, oh, they don't want to deal with this political stuff, so they're gonna cast Evans. So now maybe people see this and shut up about that. Yeah,
well, still Kringle and ready to jingle. I mean, how many times have we said that?
That's a slogan.
Yeah, that is definitely a slogan. Yeah, you know what? I feel like Tim Allen's the only one like they always work with. That's the thing that's crazy to me. I mean, you Buzz Lightyear, they always bring him back for Buzz Lightyear, except for this one, which they're, like you said, Ron, there was a reason. Jungle to Jungle, the Santa Claus trilogy, like they've worked with him a ton. So I don't know that that's ever been.
There was some talk on when Lightyear came out, and I think it was just. Because I think they did it to separate, this is not the toy, blah, blah, blah. And, Disney doesn't get the main actors to voice the toys, so it makes sense, like from a meta perspective. But I really did like the first movie. I think I was a little too old and didn't have kids to see 2 and 3 until just recently. So maybe I will watch 3. But it honestly looked pretty bad, but
I'm
laughing
sure
I'm gonna see this
because Desi said in chat, ask Rob how much he liked the new Home Alone movie. Oh my, I couldn't make it through it. I literally have the highest tolerance for cringy, for I mean, I'll watch a movie, it was okay, and then I will honestly tell you, I can like something and tell you, do not watch this. Like, I can watch it and go, the original Tron movie, I will watch that over and over again. I'm a huge fan. Would I say, Alicia, you should watch the original Tron movie? No, I would not. Because that's not for you. Like, it's one of these things where it's not great. It doesn't hold up. Some things, like at the time it was great, but now it doesn't hold up. So I can tell you objectively, don't watch this because I don't think you'll like it. But I have a high tolerance, except for that Home Alone movie. I never could make it through. The fifth, like the one that they did for Disney Plus. Couldn't do it. Same thing with that Zach Braff, Gabrielle Union, Cheaper by the Dozen movie.
Not good.
Right, yeah. Oh,
Not
Christine,
good.
did you watch it?
No.
Okay.
I didn't bother.
Don't bother. So two last things that there are three last ones, but two of them are kind of connected because the opposite I feel of this one. I feel like you had to revisit these two. One is the Muppet Mayhem. I think this is the best Muppet idea I have ever heard of. They're going back and they're going to have the Muppets, but they're going to surround. It's going to surround the life of the Electric Mayhem band. Perfect. Let's not retell the Kermit and Piggy story over and over and over again. Let's go just to these guys, and it's so perfectly put together. I mean, I'm so excited for this one. And again, I want to go back to this IP. I want to go back to the Muppets and give them another world. And Alicia, you're nodding your head. You agree?
Oh, I love the Muppets, and I was so disappointed when Muppets Now came out because I was really looking forward to it, and it was just trash. It wasn't good. I made it through like 2 episodes, and I was like, this is the worst Muppet content I think I've ever seen. It was like Disney Plus didn't know what to do with the property. So bringing in, the Electric Mayhem and like Animal is like one of my favorite characters. I love Janice. Like, I'm so excited to see these characters and see what, they have a little bit of, like, we know them. We've seen them, in like the previous Muppet shows, and like they show up in the movies, but like we don't know them. So like I'm really excited just to get surrounding them and them being the main characters.
Yeah, like Taj Mowry, who is going to be in it. The little brother of the twins. He's going to be in it. And he's going to be like with them as a super fan as they go to make their album. I mean, it's so exactly what I want from Muppets. What do you think, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, they're a great character. Like, they're just fun. Electric Mayhem is just funny. We don't know anything about anybody other than really Animal. He's the only one who really ever kind of came out of that. But Janice, like, just
Dr.
the way
Teeth,
yeah, like, but just Janice's inflection and the way she handles everything. I could think like that's funny enough to last a series.
I'm gonna ask you. Honestly, Christine, do you like the Muppets? Is that a thing? Because I feel like that came at a weird time, or do you I know, again, we're super fans over here. You can absolutely say I'm not a fan. I would pass on it. Here, I'm gonna actually take them off the screen so you don't have them staring at you while this happens.
I would probably pass. I like the Muppets Christmas Carol, but I'm not like a big Muppet person.
No, that's fine. And that's a weird thing about the Muppets, right? Like it hits in a little different for everybody. But Desi brought up Haunted Mansion again. Watch Haunted Mansion, Christine. Like that one on Disney Plus was really well done. The Muppets Haunted Mansion. I agree with you. The Muppets Christmas Carol is absolutely, and we did a review on Deep in the Plus, absolutely my favorite telling of a Christmas Carol. It's so good. Some of it, like Muppet Treasure Island, Muppet Wizard of Oz. But, I mean, Muppets from Space is my favorite one. The original Muppet Show was great. Muppets Night was great. I agree with you, Alicia, that Muppets Now was kind of trash. It wasn't what I was looking for. I mean, I'm sure it's fine, but it wasn't what I was looking for in a Muppet Show. So I'm glad that they are doing something new that is a Muppet Show, but not going back to the same, let's rehash this. I love the Jason Segel movie. I think that was really well done. So I'm excited for that one. The last that I think you need to go back to this IP is Percy Jackson, because I think that they done him dirty in the movie theaters. If you guys are ever fans of the books, which were originally owned by Disney, the Hyperion, they were published by Hyperion Books. They sold the rights off to 20th Century Fox. When they bought 20th Century, came back into the family, and they're doing a series with the kid who played young Ryan Reynolds in that Netflix movie. And it looks to me like they're really gonna do like Camp Half-Blood right. Anybody on here a Percy Jackson fan, or is that just me? Just
Never
me.
watched
I
it.
read like a book. I did maybe two. We'll be generous and say two. It was a little bit after, like they became popular like when I was a little bit older in school, so they weren't, it wasn't cool to read them. Like we were like Harry Potter and Twilight was what we were reading. We didn't read, Percy Jackson. I did see the movie when it came out, and I agree that they did them dirty. Looking at the concept art for the new film, it looks like they're casting right. It looks like the makeup is right. People seem really excited for it, so I'll watch it,
Yeah, I hope they do it right. Christine, you watched the trailer for this one, right? You said you're kind of into the fantastical without knowing the source material, and we're not going to like come at you and drag you because of the Willow thing, but like without knowing the source material for this one, did this one interest you just from the trailer?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. To be honest, I did ask Tim, because Tim read the books growing up and saw the movies. So I asked him, I was like, what is the premise of this? What's the idea? So he kind of explained to me a little bit more what it was about, which made it more interesting to me. But I was never really interested in seeing the movies. But it's a series, right? This one?
Yeah, and this one's going to be a series. So they can
Yeah.
can concentrate on like one book per. I think that Rick Riordan, the author, said he's going to like focus on one book per season almost. So like the Lightning Thief will be like the first book and be like the first season of the show, and so he's overseeing this one. So I think it'll be a lot more, to use the term Ron used early on, fan service. I'm excited to see this play out. Everyone in my family has read all the books except for me. But I had to hear about them, and then went and saw the movies and loved the movies, and they're like, nah, that ain't the move, like that ain't the book, that ain't it. And so they did the first two movies into books. So it'll be interesting to see what this series is, but I think that it's going to be great. I'm very excited to see it. I don't think it's something you need to know. As a matter of fact, I think it's probably preferable you forget the source material, being the original two movies. But both of those movies are available on Disney Plus, and again, something we may do as a review on Deep in the Plus with. So we ran way long. I wanted this to be a double-sized episode because of all of the coverage we wanted to do of D23, all of these movies that are coming out, talk about them. We'll be back next week with a regular review of just one movie, and we'll let everybody know what that is soon. We haven't finalized that one yet, but we were going to do a Halloween run, and so come October, we're going to do Werewolf by Night. We're going to do Hocus Pocus 2. We're going to do reviews of all of these new things that are dropping, and then we'll go a little bit older. We've done a lot of reviews of Halloween already, but I think there's still some stuff out there we could talk about. But there's one last thing I want to talk about that was released, and it wasn't released at the branded content panel. It wasn't released at the Fox panel, and it wasn't released at the Disney panel, but it is. Our Alicia is
Just
already very excited
Just
about
say
this.
it.
Are you sure? Are you ready?
Oh, you're killing me.
Duffy and Friends.
Stop motion.
Stop motion
animation.
Duffy
Look at him.
and
Look
Friends.
at Olu right there in the middle. Look
Olu
how
Mel.
cute he is. He's such a good boy.
Christine's going, what? So Olu, Duffy, Cookie Ann, Stella Lou,
Lena Bell.
Gelatoni, Lena Bell, all of them. But what I want to know is, Ron, are you falling asleep down there, or is this just hurt your heart?
I mean, what more than anything is, I just know this is going to cost me so much money when my daughter watches
Yes,
it.
it will. It will. Crack open the wallet, mister. Your daughter needs it.
All of it.
I am not a fan of
Look at
kawaii,
them.
or kawaii, however it's pronounced. I've just never been into it, but I know something like this is going to just like, I want.
That's going to be Alicia.
Yes. Oh, I'm ready.
Yeah. When go ahead, talk about this, Alicia.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, Duffy was introduced here in America and he didn't take off. And then all of a sudden in the overseas parks, they start to see him becoming a thing. Japan, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Paris a little bit. They really loved him and they took him in and they created all these wonderful friends of his, and they've got all these adorable really stories and they're all connected. Olu is from Alani. He's wrong way, this way. But he plays the ukulele and he just wants to sing songs to his friends. They all are really wholesome and sweet, and there's no love for them here in America, and it's so heartbreaking. I think the only way you can get Olu right now is because the Polynesian had him because of COVID. And they were like, well, people can't go to Alani, so I guess we'll ship him here. It wasn't like a real reason that they brought him there. And I point him out because he's my favorite. He's adorable. But to finally see them coming back and bringing all these shorts and stuff, it means that hopefully we're going to start getting branded merch back into the parks. And then like Ron, I will be buying everything. My house will be Duffy. My boyfriend's going to hate it. I don't care.
Yeah, people go nuts over Duffy now, but Alicia, it's so funny. That story is that, it was the Disney bear, and they were like...
It was like their answer to Build-A-Bear, essentially.
Right. Yep. It was the Disney bear, and then the Oriental Land Company was like, we want our own character, like you guys have Figment, like you guys have Orange Bird, we want our own character. And they're like, well, here's this. It's not selling here. We're not going to tell you that, but here's this. And we're going to have this little backstory that Mickey went off on a cruise, and Minnie put him in Mickey's duffel bag, and then he, that's the Duffy thing. And so then Duffy has a girlfriend, Shelly Mae, and then Gelatoni and Cookie Ann and Olumel and Stella Lou, and each of them likes to do something. Like Lena Bell likes to solve, like look for clues, and Stella Lou likes to dance, and it's very basic, and yet it's just been this huge hit overseas, whereas Disney's like, aw, like why couldn't we have done that? So it is neat to see that they're embracing it. They had a panel about it. They gave away a Lena Bell pin at the Parks panel, but they said that Duffy and Friends is coming with a stop-action limited series to Disney Plus. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. So. Again, thank you guys for sticking with us for such a long show tonight. We appreciate it. We appreciate everybody on the panel. One last thing I'd like to do is go around the group here and ask, what is the thing you're most looking forward to? I know it's a big question, so I'm gonna vamp a little bit before we get to that. So think about, what is the thing out of all this stuff that we've talked about, the Marvel stuff, the Star Wars stuff, Willow, Indiana Jones, the Fox TV shows like Percy Jackson and National Treasure, the Santa Clauses, whatever. Just let me know, what is the one thing that you think is the most exciting to you that you can't wait to be able to see when it comes out. Just a shout out that tomorrow night we have the return of News Tonight, and then on Sunday we will be doing, as I mentioned before, Park Center. We'll be back and we will be talking about D23 with Tom Corliss will be with us, Charlie will be with us, Patrick will be with us, and we'll be talking about all of the parks announcements that they made, and giving thoughts on the things they said, and of course the things that they didn't say when they talked during the parks panel. And then again, don't forget Disney Entertainment News Tonight. News Today is always on Tuesdays, except for this past Tuesday when we combined it with this show to give you all of this content all at once. So that said, I'm going to start with you, Alicia, and we'll work our way back around to Ron. Okay, you ready? What is the thing that you're most looking forward to coming from all of the announcements?
I think it's Wish. I think you sold me on it. Between, the concept art that we got to see, the little bit of it, the animation style that they're choosing, the fact that it's celebrating the 100 years, the adorable goat in pajamas, which I need. And then you mentioning, the song that they sang and how it gave you chills. I think that this is going to be a winner, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, and before we go into you, Christine, I'm looking in the chat. Desi says Loki season 2. Well, duh. I should have known that. She was going to say that from the get-go. Tony Stang says Marvel series Phase 5. Yeah. So, and then we have, I believe that's Retsu Chan saying, "Oh, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit now." So Oswald 95th birthday, and we still don't have any real new Oswald content other than that that game that came out. So the other thing is I was going to talk about video games tonight, but we sort of ran out of time. I did watch the games panel, and there are some cool video games coming that we'll talk about probably on next week's Disney Entertainment News Today. Brian, Coach says Indiana Jones. So Christine, how about you? You've looked at all this stuff. What is the thing that you're most excited for?
Werewolf by Night. That one surprised me the most, and it looks interesting. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
That's a good pull. All right, and Ron Deanna.
I think it's got to be Willow. It's just been 35 years waiting for more content from that. So it's really going to be that, and I hope it just takes off from there. I mean, there's things I might actually be a little more excited for individually with some of the Marvel movies and things like that, but they really didn't get too deep into those. So Willow is really the one I think is going to be it.
Nice. There's Christine again. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. And then I'm going to say that in the chat also, Chief says can't wait for Indy. Dawn says Loki and also Mando. Mando season 3 is going to be really good. I mean, Katie Sackhoff is back. It looks kind of amazing. I'm Bo-Katan all the way. I'm excited for that and Ahsoka and all the Star Wars stuff that's coming. I mean, it's hard for me to pick one, but I'm gonna have to say that out of all the stuff that I got to see, and again, I didn't get to see everything, but of all the stuff that I got to see, I would probably say that I am most excited about The Little Mermaid. And I know that sounds weird because it's an existing story, but Lin-Manuel Miranda can do no wrong so far. And again, Halle Bailey just sold me on her being Ariel, and I'm here for it. I'm very excited about it. So that's the one for me that I'm really the most excited about. So, let us know in the comments which ones you are most looking forward to. Again, we'll be back in our regular format next week, but we appreciate you guys being there. And again, go check out Comedy of Horrors Volume 1. I mean, it's Halloween. It's the best time to go see that. And Christine is a little bit of a something in that movie. It's there's what?
I said a little bit.
A little bit, exactly. So thank you guys so much for being with us, and we will see you next time. Have a great night.